Hi, Ken here. September 11th, a new feature is going up. So I want to give you a quick run through and add a bit of extra explanation to things. To get a new feature, you need to have multiple samples. And when you do, you click compare samples to each other, which will bring up on your screen. Select the one or ones you want, in which case I'm going to do everything just because I have everything there. Okay, and new item is template timeline. And when we click that, we suddenly get over and get a nice little chart showing up. Okay, and now I've adjusted the screen to make life a little bit easier. Now, I'm going to take a look at a specific example of one because it'd probably be a good real life illustration. Prior to my last relapse of chronic fatigue syndrome, I had good normal blood pressure. Last 3 times into the doctor, good 120 over 80 or there's about with no problem. Very last time I walked in, I had high blood pressure. Knowing that blood pressure is associated with bacteria, I decided to take a look at it. And we see looking at a 6% one that things sort of went down there. When I flipped over to 24%, it becomes much more pronounced. In other words, suddenly I'm far closer to having a high blood pressure set of bacteria than I did 2 years ago. And so it suggests that, in fact, the reason for high blood pressure has been the change of bacteria which happened as a result of the chronic fatigue syndrome relapse. Okay, so nice easy thing. Now let's go and do a quick walkthrough. We have the collection of items. What we can do is just go up to the very top. When we see something bouncing around like that, it's basically rarely to be concerned. It simply means the thing's moving in and out. And the gut bacteria is dynamic, so it keeps changing. I'm going to go through and then we see this one and we stop and say, what? Wait a minute, we're not only low, we're all the way down to microscopic in terms of probability. In other words, what we have being shown here using a 25 percentile indicates that I have a significant condition associated microbiome dysfunction. Okay, that's nice. Now, if I bump up the amounts, we won't have it as severe. In fact, we see it jumps wildly back and forth. The adjusting the numbers tends to be a little bit of a challenge. Um, and the part of the challenge comes because of the definition. In this case, what we find is most of the time I'm sitting there at significant. It's only when we start dropping down to requiring the very highest levels do we flip in and out, back and forth. So, in other words, okay, no big surprise here. Exactly what I was expecting. Allergies, back and forth a fair amount. Lots of back and forth. Um, Everything here is just bumping back and forth. Here, basically, no probability. Autism, okay, everything's there. Nothing particularly standing up as there. Crohn's disease, there is a look like I'm heading towards the bacteria association with it, but we need to have it saved after a couple of consecutive readings before it becomes an item of real concern. This one is a bit interesting. Depression, where I bump back and forth. Fortunately, my personality type is what's called a Pollyanna, so it is very uninclined towards depression. But it means that if I didn't have this personality type, I probably would be depressed. So that is of interest because other factors do come into play besides Microbiome, let's go through. Nothing there, nothing there. Again, nothing there, bouncing around, bouncing around. High blood pressure we saw already. Histamine issue. Looks like I may have been heading toward histamine problem for one measurement, but that was about it. And here we have the histamine issue. Okay. And a couple more things. Inflammatory bowel disease. It looks like actually I'm improving in terms of having less risk of it. Irritable bowel, bouncing around. Arthritis. We wait a couple more. We had 3 consecutive measurements showing a low, and we'll just see how we are doing a couple more. Here with IBS, CFS with IBS, I don't match the pattern. Last time around, headed in the right direction, but I didn't have any particular IBS. Here without IBS, I'm more in that direction there, so things have moved there, but it's not a tight fit. Metabolic syndrome, I'm bouncing all over the place, so I'm not too concerned there. Mood disorder, again, same thing. Most of the time, it's very good. Looks like I have less risk of rheumatoid arthritis, which is nice. Bouncing around, bouncing around, bouncing around. SIBO, no sign of it. Stress and traumatic stress syndrome, just one I had played with earlier. And if it hopped up to 6%, we end up, in terms of the more severe problems, we see that I am closer to having PTSD type things. Notice the keyword is stress, and my onset was caused by stress. So that is sort of interesting. Lupus, diabetes, no, 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 and that's it. So the main thing is just it's not predictive as to whether or not you have or not. It should be reflective of conditions if you have it. Again, the studies we're working from are far from ideal, and what we are doing is simply doing the best mathematical and statistical tricks to get meaningful data from the studies which have been published and the bacteria which you have identified. So go explore, enjoy.